Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's not much fun going around the world hearing people referred to as Frank Head. And I wasn't too sure when I came back from Buckingham Palace, having received my honour from the Queen, and I wasn't, but next door neighbour's children's sense of humour, when they say, can we now call you Obi Dick? Seriously, you may not have thought I've had a problem with this name, but a few years ago I was working with Daley Thompson, the Commonwealth Games, and unfortunately took a 30-metre approach run into a lamppost and broke my nose. And I had to get taken up to the hospital, and Daley insisted on coming up with me with his pal, Greg Richards. And I'm sure they did a fantastic job when I got up there, because they'd phoned up and said, you know, Frank Dick's coming up, he's broken his nose. Oh, no, that's terrible. But I arrived up there, they'd done a fantastic job, they'd cleared the decks. I'm heading through to the operating theatre, and there was only one person between us and the operator. It was a young nurse. And when she saw Daley Thompson on this shoulder, and a giant of a boy called Greg Richards on the other, her little legs went to jelly. She walked up and looked me straight in the eye and she said, "Hello, Mr. Nose, how's your dick?" But we're not here to discuss such things today. I've said it's a people's skill because that's what leadership is. Am I denying the existence of technology or its importance? Of course not. Fundamental. We're involved in a technical business and a technology business on the one side, and we're involved in a people business. That's what we do as leaders. But I don't care how much you know about the technical business. If you don't understand the people business, you'll really be out of business as a leader. And this was brought home to me a little bit when I was working with Eddie Jones. Brought me in when he took the job in 2016. He brought me in to be the strategic consultant. And the first task I had was to go and watch a training session where they brought the squad together for the first time. And he said, "Frankie, all I want you to do is observe. Tell me what you think afterwards." So I did my observing, and I was watching these sessions, and I was mesmerized with the quality of technical content of these sessions that the guys were doing. There were wonderful things. There was a drone up here. There was 360-degree cameras. The quality of the work was fantastic. In my wildest dreams, I couldn't create these programs. But I didn't think the coaches were coaching. I thought what they were doing was supervising. And I thought, I know what it is. I don't think they're as good at their observation skills as dinosaurs like myself had to be, because we didn't have cameras and bits and pieces. But then it dawned on me where the real problem was. They delegated responsibility for their observation skills. And as a consequence, it occurred to me, well, just to explain what they were doing, they would wait till after the sessions was over, look at the videos and analysis at night, and then they would pick up that point a week later. Well, you've only got the England rugby team together for 13 weeks in the year. That's what you've got. Now, how can you waste that amount of time? And what occurred to me was it's just possible that we could become so into bed with technology that we would cease to develop our personal skills. And I thought that was going to be a big problem. So it came down to, can we learn these things? And of course we can. Aristide came out with a quote that was slightly adapted. Probably the only sustainable competitive advantage we have is the ability to learn and change faster than the opposition. That's how you win. But the critical part is, therefore, are we prepared to learn? Well, attitudinally, I'd like to think everybody in the room is prepared to learn, because that's why you're here. But there's another bit about learning is, can you put a structure in that in advance allows you to learn faster once you're into the situation you're going into, whether it's a game of rugby, whether it's track and field or Olympic Games or whatever. And I use this very simple little device here, whether it's a meeting like this, whether it's a committee meeting, whether it's a training session, whether it's a competition. What's the reason? Why are you doing this? Why are you here? What's the outcome? What are you trying to get out of why you're here today, for example? Secondly, reality. What's going to happen? How is it going to happen? And who's going to do it? Reflection. What did you learn from today? And the most important part that I would urge all of you to address is response. What are you going to do better or differently as a consequence? And I think I find it a very useful little device. I use it myself all the time, and I urge you to reflect, to go through that for today. What was your reason for being here? Your reality, your reflection, and your response. When Eddie took on the job, he asked, I'd actually worked with him remotely when I was in South Africa preparing the South African team for Rio. He was in Japan preparing the Japanese rugby team for the Rugby World Cup in England. And he said, can you come up with a very simple picture of strategy? I said, yeah, I think this is the one I'd go for. And wrote this down. First of all, you've got to control the controllables. Technology is fantastic in that because it helps us to control more things than we used to. One of the most important parts of controllables are your basics. In developing a team for, say, a 4-year cycle, you'd better get brilliant basics in place from the beginning and make them robust under pressure. Once you've got that in place, you look for error elimination and for looking for advantage. It's like the marginal gains that David Brailsford talks about. Error elimination, that will help us to build up on our basics. I did a stint with Ferrari, and Ross Brawn was there. And he got pretty obsessive about pit stops. What he wanted to do was reduce the amount of time in pit stops. And when he started, they were about 8 seconds on average. He got them down to 6. Just by getting people standing in the right place, doing things, passing things to people, working as a team, that kind of stuff. They then stopped refueling the car. And Red Bull got it into the head, this would be a great idea for them to try to set a world record for how fast you could do a pit stop. Do you know the fastest pit stop that they've done in a race? Anybody? 3.2 seconds. Now understand what they're trying to do in that 3.2 seconds, you know. Jack up the car, nuts off, tires on, nuts back on again, clean the windscreens, all these, but 3.2 seconds. Do you know the fastest they've done it in training? 1.92 seconds. So you see, we can find extra advantage by just looking at the things that we're not doing quite right. But then the bit at the top here, advantage edge. Where do we get that? Young Scottish boy wants to swim in the 2012 Olympic Games, and he's heard about marginal gains from the cycling, so he goes to see one of Dave Brailsford pals. And he says to him, give me a secret. What are the kind of things that you do out there? And one of the guys said, well, like what? He said, we do lots of things. Well, tell me just one thing. Well, do you know we put vinegar on the spokes of the wheels? No. What difference does that make? It's almost nothing. No. So he went away and he thought about it. He phoned the guy back up. He said, I don't get it. Why would you do something that, and it makes no difference? He said, I didn't say that. I said, almost nothing. When you add up all the almost nothings in life, in what we do, and technology can help us in this, of course, then you'll find an edge. How many differences are there? Now, don't laugh at this slide. This is, I appreciate the mess, but in my world, these are areas that we can work on. Physiology, biomechanics, psychology, tactics, medical and lifestyle, and technology. There's over 50 different bits in there that you can find a tiny difference, almost nothing from. And out of that, over a 4-year period, working with a rugby team or whatever, you're gradually working your way through all these bits and pieces so that hopefully next Saturday and the Saturday after, we get the result that we're after. That's what the whole thing's about. It's a process, and we work through it. But let me go back to my diagram then. Once you've got that in place, and you've heard it all day today, you've got to have a mindset that's agile to change. Now, we know that when you go into any arena, you invented the expression, I didn't. Strategy never survives first contact with the enemy. Once you're out there, it doesn't matter what your plans are, it's chaos. What we've got to understand in life, it is about, in how we approach the challenges of the arena, is about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Because that's what change is. It's uncomfortable. And you've got to understand that's part of what your life is. Then leverage the uncertainty that's out there, because that's all you've got. I can plan as much as I can to get athletes to be out there, to be world class. But when they go out there, there's no certainty. There's never certainty in any moment of life. There's only uncertainty. It's our job to turn it to advantage. Once you've got that right, then the whole thing comes around. You fit all of these things, and again, working over something like a 4-year period, you're looking to get people making right decisions under pressure. That once in place, you've got consistent performance excellence. The learning process, there are some things in life you can be taught. You can be taught the science of what you do through formal education, reading all the bits and pieces and so on. But you can only learn the art of what you do. Informal occasions. Something, I would take it that today is kind of like an informal occasion because a lot of your education has been taking place when you've been eating out there, networking and so on. The one thing that never changes, should be non-negotiable, is the constancy of your values you go through. The bit is that this stuff up here, the things that you learn is through life experience and through specific experiences. The problem with that, of course, as Vernon Law said, is experience is the toughest of all teachers because it gives you the test first and the lesson second. But the bit is we know that. And if we know that, what we must be far more clever at is making sure that we create the experiences with new technologies, with bits and pieces, and learn how do we turn these to advantage. Because what I'm after in life is high-performance intelligence. Wherever it is. We heard fantastic presentations today that highlighted that. Jamie's was magnificent. Once we've got that in place, then that's what we're after, to make quality decisions under pressure. The whole thing, our whole journey in life, is about making right choices, making right decisions. That's what defines you in life. You're either going to be fantastic in life or you're going to be average. And you'll be fantastic because you make right decisions. And you, wherever you're sitting in your seat right now, you are the difference. I mean, has it ever occurred to you that in all of time, there's only going to be one of you? There's not another Dolly the sheep out there. There's you. There's just you. You are unique in all of time. So what you bring to the world, nobody else can bring. As a coach, I've always seen it as my job to take people from who they are to who they're capable of becoming. I want each one of you to promise yourselves that you should be on that journey and owning that journey yourselves. Find a good coach if you like, but take yourself on that journey. Because once you get to who you're capable of becoming, just think what a difference you're going to make of the world. Nobody can be you. If you don't bring that difference, the world cannot possibly move forward the way that you can help it move forward. And then I have to say, I'd leave you with 2 questions. If it's not you that's going to make that difference, then who? And if it's not now that you're going to decide to make that difference, then when? Have a great day. Thanks.